Welcome to the Pulpit View podcast. My name is Stephen Garrett. With over 20 years of experience in leadership, family, and ministry, I've invited some brothers to join me for a conversation about what it takes to bring balance to each. Why don't you join me on this journey? Let's go. Hello, everyone. I'm Stephen Garrett, and this is the Pulpit View. I'm excited today because I have a good friend of mine, LaTreco Thompson. He is not only a successful entrepreneur, he is a father, he is a multiple business owner. And I am grateful that he has taken the time out to have a discussion with me today on how he achieved the success he has and how he balances it all with time with family, life in his church, and life in his business. Treco, good having you today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Same here. Again, name is LaTreco. I know you said LaTreco.
LaTreco.
LaTreco Thompson. And I think we balance it through God. I mean, and just through learning. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I think that God has just given me a work ethic, and He's paired me with the right people. My wife, Shonda Thompson. We've been married for 8 years now. And I think it just took me through a road of changes that pushed me to the point where I had no choice but to be successful. I think when we let go of what I wanted to do and kind of bought into what He was doing in our life, just when the change started. We started our business after the name of our business is Three Folks Care, and we got that from a sermon. Basically talked about the threefold cord not easily broken.
Love it.
And we were in the process of opening business then, and we were looking for a name, and that's what tied everything together. So we were able to grasp our mission statement from that verse. We were able to do a lot of the formatting from that Bible verse, and our pastor helped us. He actually preached a business plan and a sermon, and then sent us the notes. And we took that business plan and put in different steps for our business, and held each other accountable for doing it, submitted the stuff, and that's how we started Three Folks Care.
Love it. I love it. I love it. You had a unique story because you did not come from a place of unsuccessfulness. You were successful before the business started.
Right.
In other aspects. What was something that helped you step out in faith and just start into something brand new?
I don't know that you can say that I just stepped out on faith.
Okay.
It was called a push. So I think Steve, I had told you earlier that I had done working with intellectual disabilities for about 10 years before starting my own business. So that first 7 years, it was with Volunteers of America. And I don't want to say I was a worker bee, but it was learning the craft, falling in love with the people, and then honoring what God had given me authority over.
Love it.
And I think that's how I was successful. I think that's how we're successful now is no matter how big, no matter how small, as long as you value what you've been given, then God's going to multiply and bless it. And I think that's where, when you say I was successful before this business, I think that's how, no matter what my job was, it was because God had given it to me. And not I'm being faithful to my employer, but I'm being faithful to God because God has given me the opportunity to live this life, to achieve these things, to work for people and be paid for it. So a lot of individuals that we have, life would be far worse off without us being a part of their life. So I went in, I remember graduating from Troy in 2000, Troy State University, and thinking that I was called to work with the youth, people who have been non-adjudicated and adjudicated teens. That's what I thought I was being called to do. And those people didn't want my help. I mean, I did that for 2 years, and so heartbroken. You know, you pour all you can into, you know, a 14-year-old, 15-year-old when he's in prison or in jail, and then you make all these promises. Don't do this, and you send him back to that same environment that he left out of, and he falls right back into that trap. And it was so heartbreaking to see that rotation. And so when I ended up taking a part-time job working with people who had intellectual disabilities, didn't make a lot of money, but I felt so good that I was actually doing something that made a difference, that I could see my impact immediately.
I love it. I love it.
That's kind of how we fell in love with this.
I love it. And I think that's kind of what we find in the difficulty in all areas of life, right? That you find yourself sewing into people that really don't want it. And that's one of the misfires, I guess you would say. If you have a car, you understand if that spark plug misfires, it just won't turn on and you can't get the car rolling. And I think part of that is a lot of times there's things that we want to do or we feel is where we're supposed to be at. That might not be our calling. And you got to be willing to submit in an area of that. Would you say that's somewhere in the way that you found yourself, that you had to find yourself submitting to what it?
Definitely. And not only submitting to what God has called you to do, but also moving you out of the way. Because, you know, again, if I see a troubled youth or I see a 25-year-old male, and he's a staff member, I'm going to want to pour into him because when I was 25 or when I was 18, I wanted a man to pour into me, and I didn't necessarily get that. So in business, you got to kind of learn what your weak areas are, things that's going to take you down a rabbit hole that you don't need to go down, and put up barriers there. But I don't only get to mentor and to the clients that we have, the people supported that we are charged to take care of. We have over 150 staff, and in order for us to be successful, we have to be good stewards over what income comes in. And then we also have to make sure that we're pouring into them so that they understand that they have to be good stewards. If not, then they're not going to be successful in life or successful in this business as our staff. So that's another, you know, we think we're called to provide services for individuals with intellectual disabilities, but this staff that we have, you also see yourself pouring into them, encouraging them and motivating them to be more and to go after their dreams, because that makes sense for one man to be successful when everybody else beneath them is failing. You want to be able to pull people up with you. And in a Black community, I think that's a lot of times where we have issues. We have issues with competing against each other versus trying to bring people along. There's enough out here for everybody.
Yeah.
So God gives all of us specific gifts, and there's scripture that says your gift will make room for you, and I strongly believe that. So no matter what my gift is, you don't have to dim my light to make your light shine brighter.
Yeah,
just two lights together gonna be brighter anyway. So I'd rather the more people around me be successful than it's just don't look at me. Don't just look at me. Let's look at us. Then collectively we're gonna be better.
I love it. And that kind of leads us into the next question. How have you found your spiritual walk intertwining with your business ethics? Because we live in a society now that basically says if you want to be successful, there's a level of you that has to be selfish. And what I love about you and your wife, who is great friends with my wife as well, actually developed a relationship. They would always go out to eat and leave us at the house with the kids while they were taking these brunches. But what I love about you two are that you are not solely on seeing a profit for self. I remember one of the conversations we had was how there are people that you all have blessed to be in a position of ownership, and sometimes they have stepped away. Now, though that can feel somewhat daunting, because as a barber and a pastor, I've put myself out there to help others get ahead. And then when it seems like that does not come back in return, it can make you want to say, hey, I just got to be solely about myself. But what I love about you all is that no matter the hardships, it always seems like y'all are always trying to build somebody else. And I think that has to be very tough. So how do y'all balance that?
It's hard for both of us. I think it's harder for my wife because she falls in love with people so fast. So when she when we pour into someone, we expect some type of reciprocal relationship. But at the same time, we got to realize that God is going to give us back what he meant to give us back, and not look for that, whatever we put in somebody else. We look for it from man. We got to look for it from the spiritual aspect. We pour into so many different people because we understand the more that we give, the more that we're going to receive.
Yeah.
And it's because of our hearts. But a lot of times people write books, they become successful just on the principles that they find in the Bible.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have to be a Christian. It's great. It's great to be a Christian. But if you follow some of those same principles, then you're going to be blessed at the same time. So I think that's why we still do, although it hurts to want more for someone than they want for themselves.
Come on, that's good.
Or to expect something more from somebody than they expect from themselves. But we understand that as long as we're doing as God has called us to do, that we're going to look for that spiritual reward versus that carnal reward that we're getting from man. That makes sense.
Yeah, that makes good sense.
We have poured into people and they have walked away, have chosen a different path. But the word also talks about people being with you for a season or a reason. So as long as they carry out their responsibility that God has called them to help us, to mentor us, then we're okay. And we had to learn to let people go because that's what God has called them to do versus it being what we want for them.
Yeah.
Being selfish. So we follow his will versus our will. I just have to learn that.
I completely see that because that's probably the hardest thing I think about in business as a Christian in general, in business overall. But I think it's heavier as a Christian because there's that area that works outside of the spectrum of your control, and we call it his will. There's those things that we don't get to say, well, we're planning for it to go this way. This person we're planning to be in for just a season of our life. In fact, I know there was one particular barber, I had planned on him being the manager of the barbershop, but God desired for it to go a different way. And he's successful. But that for me was a shaking because I had to realize my plan did not have to include God's plan, but his plan was going to get presidents regardless.
So they always say, write down what you want to do, your plan, and then try to do it and watch God laugh at you. So it's always going to come back to it. I can't tell you the number of times that we both decided to step away. So I came into a management meeting a week ago, and I turned in my resignation. I did. I really did.
Man.
So when I was telling you Miss Staley's going to be executive director now, I'm doing my best to let her run it. So I'm pulling back. And a lot of decisions are being made. she's going to have to make, because that's what we're paying them to do. And the key reason we did that was because people are falling in love with me and giving me, making me their idol. And we want God to be, come on, centered and up front. So if you fall in love with Threefold's mission statement and our mission and work that we do here, then you're going to be doing the work that God wants us to do. But if you fall in love with me, then I'm going to fail you because I'm not Christ.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that's why I need to be removed from the day-to-day activities of what's going on, so they can follow these policies and make sure that, you know, things are going the way that God planned for them to go, because our business came out of him.
Yeah.
It didn't just come out of us and my goals and my plans and my views. We birthed it and we named it Threefold Care. So it's the Father, my wife, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're always looking at me instead of looking at God, then we're not going to be successful. And so that's why we're pushing mission versus, and for a long time, people never knew we owned this business. Nobody, for the first 4 years, nobody knew that LaTreco and LaTreco Thompson were the owners of Threefold Care.
Wow.
They only saw, oh, who's Threefold Care? Well, Threefold Care is a company that provides service for people with intellectual disabilities. Not our face have to be everywhere or our name have to be everywhere. And it still doesn't. I think it does us more harm than it does us good, because again, we want our works to speak for itself and not us.
And I think that's big in itself, because being a leader requires you, it comes with a heavy weight that most people don't want to carry. Naturally, being a leader, I remember Paul saying in the text, y'all trying to make me y'all God. That and I'm paraphrasing. He basically saying, listen, that's not who I am. You can do the things that I've said and done. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, let's remember who the whole source is. And being a leader, especially a godly leader, you find yourself being put in a position because there's a level of favor that goes with you, that it's not that you're asking people to depend on you in that way. It's not even that you're trying to take that from, but you have to have a level of humbleness. You have to be willing to let go of some pride that can come to maintain that position. And that's something big, to step away when you have achieved so much, not from the business in the totality, but to step away and trust somebody else to make decisions, and really put your trust in God to say that we made the right decision with your guidance, with the person we have.
Yeah, no, we still gonna hover a little bit.
Yeah.
Of course, the numbers are right, and that my role would be more of someone who's gonna go and audit the home and make sure that the staff and so they're the hands that's on. So that's where I need to be. A lot of times I'm in the office and I don't get the experience and be with the individuals that I fell in love with. So we're gonna move back to doing that. We're gonna move back to being able to touch, see, and feel versus just kind of manage and oversee.
Love it.
And that's going to, I think, give us what we need the most.
Love it. Okay, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit, because you have another special dynamic that I love. You're somewhat of a blended family. You have an older son, younger daughter. You are one of the success stories, per se, within your family. How do you handle the different dynamic of that and maintaining so many other facets of your life? Because you all don't just own Threefold. There's other components of Threefold that you manage, right, that require your attention. And then you are husband, father. And to be a father is a job in itself. And so how do you handle all of that?
Well, your wife helps with that. she does. She does. My wife Shonda joined your wife Christina and her Mama Thon group. So you know, you have most men have wives, and their wives have friends, and when they go out with their friends, they come back worse.
Yeah,
because of all the. So when she goes out with Christina, Christina pours into her. The group pours into her, and she comes back better. She comes back lighter. She comes back with the plan. So I think when you ask, well, how do we manage threefolds, family, kids, school, being pulled in all different directions, is realizing that, you know, God has given you the capacity. He's not going to put anything on you that you cannot handle. And my pastor is Stephen D. Huntley, True Divine, and he said there's a such thing as a holy no.
Come on.
I have it, but I don't have it for that. I can, but did you make a choice about what decision you made before you came and asked me for whatever assistance, whatever help? So it's realizing that, you know, you have to move away from your family, your mama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, in order to see the larger picture. And if you're always giving, and those people are always the people that you're helping first, then you may not be doing God's will for your life. There's going to be a time for mom. There's going to be a time for dad. There's going to be a time for brother. But you got to make sure that timing is God's timing and not their timing. I'll take you back to our first 3 years, and we thought we were making a little money, but our taxes went from being in the single digits with a couple of zeros behind it. So when that accountant came and said, you're supposed to have this amount of money in the bank, and we looked at where it went to mama, it went to brother, it went to taking everybody out to lunch and taking everybody out to dinner. We blew a lot of money in that third year because we saw a lot of money coming in, but we didn't see what the United States was going to ask for us at the end. So it's being willing to be educated. It's being willing to understand that, you know, everything that God gives you, you don't necessarily give it to you, but He gives it to you to pass on to somebody else. And my ultimate goal is to be a blessing for my children's children. So the same money that we have now, I want my grandkids and their kids to have, and not to have to give them that leg up in life, versus having to go through a lot of the struggles and taking the dead end jobs that we took to get to where we are, being mistreated the way we've been mistreated, because we got a responsibility that we got to take care of, giving them the opportunity where they can look and do what God wants them to do, versus doing what they feel they have to do to take care of their families. So just being able to follow God's will, to always realize that you can learn. Shonda and I take a marriage course every year through our church to reset. Reset. I remember, you know, we took one course, and before the course, she says, "Iron sharpens iron." I was like, "Baby, I don't want you sharper than me all the time. Just polish me. Just be some polish, make me sharp." And she was like, "Really?" Yeah, really. The world sharpens me. People always brushing, hitting, smashing. That's the sharpening. I need you to make me look good, to make me feel safe, and make me. And I promise you. You said blended family. My wife is the best thing outside of Christ that could happen to me. And she's just amazing. We wouldn't be successful. I wouldn't be successful if she wasn't part of my life. So if y'all men that don't have the right wife,
come on,
get her with Miss Christine.
Real though.
Or you know, go deep in prayer and counsel and figure those things out. That because if you're not centered from the home standpoint, it don't really matter what you do out there in the world and your business and at your job, or, even some of the pastors, the first church is your home. So if you're not right at home, it don't matter who you're preaching to. I want my wife to feel secure that she knows who her husband is. And we truly believe that we're one, that we're soulmates. And that's a big part of the success that we have, because we understand no matter how much money we make, how much money we lose, that we have each other and we have God, and He'll replace whatever that worm made up.
Man, listen, that's so good. I think that alone is probably more powerful than many of us recognize, is that we're utilizing more than just ourselves in this journey to success. And you said something, as a pastor and a business owner, I can relate, because the truth of the matter is, it's what happens in the back end at home that helps us produce so well on the front end before the people. I'm not going to hold you too much longer, but I wanted to ask you a few more questions, if possible. I know you got a hectic day ahead of you. One of the things that I love about you all's relationship is being able to work together. You all have built something. You all seem to communicate well, and even on the days that I know, because it happens, period. It happened for me and Christina. It happens in a relationship. You're in a relationship, you're gonna have days that you say, "Listen, why are you here?" And so, how do you all manage that aspect, since y'all see each other on so many fronts? Because that's something that I think is unique. I love my wife, and I have the privilege of having someone who is phenomenal. But the truth of the matter is, I get to go to a different job every day, and the reason it's so good seeing her when I get home is because that's sometimes the first time for the day. But you all are kind of knit together and then entangled. So how does that work?
A lot of prayer and a lot of understanding. So one thing is we have completely different personalities, and I truly believe she's my soulmate. So whatever gifts God has blessed me with, He's blessed her with almost the exact opposite.
I love it.
So whatever I need, she can do. Whatever she needs, I can do. So a lot of times you say, well, you're at work and we're working alongside each other, but a lot of times we need each other, because I'm gonna see people from a totally different perspective than she's gonna see people. I'm gonna see tasks from a totally different perspective than she's gonna see tasks. Shonda handles a lot of the background of Three Foes. She's the backbone of Three Foes, but she's also my backbone.
Yeah.
She's also the person that wakes up in the morning, sometimes before I get out of bed, and she's praying for me in the day that I'm gonna have. So when I say I married my soulmate, I truly believe that, and I think that's how we're able to spend so much time together, and it doesn't seem like we're spending enough time together.
Come on, that's good.
And then, just learning our roles, so that if you ask me a question, one of the first things that I'm going to say is, did you talk to Shonda about that? Because if you already talked to her, there's no need for you to ask me that question, because she's giving you my answer.
Yeah.
And the same thing, vice versa. If someone goes to her and say, hey, Miss Shonda, can I do this? She may say, well, that's not my role. Did you talk to Mr. Thompson? So we try to keep our roles defined. So at work, although she owns Three Foes and she's the CEO, I kind of run Three Foes. And at home, she runs the home. So although I make a lot of decisions at home, something is tough, but how our home operates and what happens and what time I need to be home, and if I need to bring dinner home, or if she's preparing dinner, or what we're doing with the kids, she's organizing those things so that it runs smoothly.
Yeah.
So we both kind of have, I'm in charge here. So when I get home, I know I take off this hat and I say, hey, babe, what you need me to do? When she comes to work, it's like, hey, baby, what you need me to do? I got these tasks. However, is there something that you need me to do to make your day go how it needs to go? And that's how we balance the work-life relationship along with the different courses and mentors. You know, if you don't have 4 to 5 people in your life that has a different viewpoint than you have, then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Oh, I love it.
So you're gonna need special men and women. You're gonna need men and women who have lived this life that you can ask questions and not go down the road that you shouldn't go down because they've already been down that road. And then once you get that advice, don't just go do it. You take it back to God and say, hey, God, this is what I have.
Yeah.
Now what it is that you would have me to do with it, you know. So we have a lot of systems here, and people come with good ideas, and you know, our thing is, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying not right now. Because if you bring me a good idea and God doesn't want that for our business, then it's not going to go right.
Yeah.
But if you bring me an idea and he's already told me that, hey, you should start doing this, and then you bring that, then we're going to stop right there and do, hey, babe, we need to start doing this because I just got confirmation from Ted. Ted told me the same thing that we discussed, we talked about, we prayed about, and now I got confirmation and we can move forward. So a lot of times we want to make changes, but we're not listening to God to make those changes, not only in business, but in life.
I love it.
So just being able to go back and talk God into, you know, your decision making and your day-to-day life.
I love it. And that's so unique because even from the aspect of how y'all are managed, we don't spend the same amount of time together, but at our house, the conversation is always, I'm the president, you're the governor. You handle the day-to-day stuff. You call me in when there's a major disaster, and I'm supposed to come with the support that is needed. But you know this lay of the land by far better than I do on a day-to-day basis, and I think that is vital. But you said so much in that I one of the things that you said leads me into my other question when you talked about mentors. I have a belief system that you should have minimum 3 type of people in your life. That's someone that you are learning from, someone you're learning with, and someone you're teaching. It's someone above you, someone below your level, because the best way to learn is to be able to teach what you're learning a lot of times. And so that mentorship, that fellowship, how vital is it when it comes to all of what's going on to have that brotherhood, those folks around you, whether it be 5 people. I don't believe in big circles because, as one person said, you can have a nickel or you can have a dime. One's smaller, but one's worth more. Mm-hmm. I think a smaller circle sometimes can be worth more than that larger circle. So would you kind of to me what vitality, what's the important?
I think, you know, that's something I'm still struggling with because, you know, there's a trust issue with men there for me right now.
Come on.
And it has been, it's played a major part of my life. So the reaching back, no issues at all.
Mm-hmm.
Working alongside, no issues at all. See, I got daddy issues.
Come on.
I have daddy issues. So the reaching up, that's been my issue. And like I said, I have no problem mentoring. I mentor a lot of individuals. I have no problems with relationships with people who are equal, same age, and working alongside is that baby boomer age folk, that your grandfather, your daddy, because of those daddy issues that I have. So joining True Divine has helped with that. There's a men's group there, and there's a lot of older individuals in that men's group. My pastor is a great resource. I give a lot of our credit to God and to our pastor, because he saw the spiritual realm, the success for us long before we did.
Come on.
So I remember calling him. We went to Barbados for my birthday, and I remember being there and thanking God and looking. I was like, hey, my son said, Pastor Helpman is God. That's his vision of God. So I was like, let me call Pastor Huntley. I reached out to him and just said, thank you. Thank you for believing in us. Thank you for trusting us. Thank you for pushing us to greatness along with God's help, and just having to give that back to. So the importance of that is if you don't have anybody that's willing to stretch you, to push you, to say that you should be doing or you should not be doing, you could be doing, then you're not going to grow as fast as you should grow, or you're not going to grow.
I love it.
And I think that's the importance of making sure you have those people that have ran that race, the people that are running the race, and the people that are getting started running the race, so that at any point that you need some assistance, you got somebody beside you, you got somebody that's been down that road, you got somebody that's going to come down that road. Yeah. And you never know when you're going to need some of that assistance. So I think that's the importance of having those relationships.
Love it. Last 3 questions, man. We're winding down. Would you give me something that has determined how you recognize that, okay, now that you've made it, because I believe success is progression. It is you might make a metric of success, but you might not have made it to the next level of what is considered success. But we're in a world now that considers success to be just your finances or just the fact you have this or that. But how do you determine, or how did you determine, okay, we're on the right track for threefold, for the relationship, for all of it? How do you determine?
You the pastor. So what's the Bible verse that says, write your visions down, make it plain?
Hey, guy.
so that's kind of what we do. We do it at the beginning of each year before we start our fast, and we do it 6 months. So next week, 2 weeks from now, we'll do a reset and see, are we on right track for the goals that we've set before us? So we write down our plans, and we check. We check to make sure that we're reaching those goals. We're very goal driven. My wife's a number driven, so she comfortable. I don't believe in being comfortable. I believe in pushing as hard as I can now, so later I don't have to push at all. So if we're able to be successful now, or we're able to reach more people now, we're able to serve more people now, we're able to employ more people now, I don't know what 2 years look like. I don't know what 10 years look like, but I know what now looks like. So because of the now, I'm able to set goals and I'm able to project where we should be at the end of the year. So if the numbers are not right, or if I haven't spent more time doing this and that was one of my goals, then I'm going to make sure that I'm devoting more time to that, because that's what God has taught me to do. And this is what we need in order to say, well, how do you know you're being successful? Or how do you know that you're going to be successful later is because we got it written down. And
Yeah.
if the numbers don't match, then something not right. And that's kind of how we live our life. And my wife's going to finish a book this year. She's been trying to finish a book for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but she's going to finish this year because, again, 3 months, you're supposed to have this many chapters ready. 6 months. So if you're going to have to stop everything we're doing and not take some of these trips and let me take these kids, so that in the third quarter, you got to write what you should have wrote in the first quarter and the second quarter, so that you can be on track to make sure that it's completed. But we're going to make sure we reach those goals, because that's what we believe His will is.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Now, listen, if I got the scripture wrong, y'all put it in the comments. I do believe it's Haggai or Habakkuk. I know it's one of these agents. I think it's Habakkuk. I'm almost positive it's Habakkuk. I jump out with Haggai because Haggai was one of the ones he had to go through some heavy stuff. The next question that I would ask is, and I've heard it throughout the conversation today, but I believe if you're going to reach those success, you got to be strategic. And in our day and age, it seems like people will throw their net out and just hope they get something. And one of the verses that I love in the Bible, one of my favorite verses, is when Jesus is on the boat with the disciples. They have been fishing all night and nothing comes up all night. These are professional fishermen. They know that the best time to fish is late in the night for their type of catch. And Jesus says, why don't you go ahead and throw your nets back over? And here comes Peter. Well, Lord, we ain't get nothing, but nevertheless, at thy word. And I think there's a level of us that have to be strategic in our movements, that we move when the Lord says so. We don't just move sporadically. Can you kind of talk about how you've been strategic in your life, even lately?
We talked a little bit earlier, and I don't know that it is strategic. I want to say that it is, but I don't think that I think it's following God's will for my life and being able to hear God's voice. I'm a little away from the projects.
Come on.
I shouldn't be here.
Come on.
I shouldn't be doing this. God has pushed me at different points in my life, pushed me out of situations, pushed me out of different school systems, pushed me to different school systems, pushed me out of bad relationships, put me in good relationships, put me around the right people. And again, being faithful over what He's done for you and given you. That's all we're doing.
Oh, man. I like that, because even if we're not strategic, what you're saying, He is. Yeah.
So it's okay. So our goal is for our business, Three Folks Care, is to take the individuals that nobody else wants.
Come on.
The ones that are going to be hurt, the ones that are going to be abused, the ones that are not going to be loved, the ones that are going to be mistreated. What does God say? The poor, the widows, they're going to always be with us. Nobody wants the individuals. We don't turn in. There's a certain thing called a 30-day notice in our population. And it's for when you cannot manage the people that you have in your caseload or in your residence. And it's normally not the person. It's normally the parents or some other dynamic that says, we're not able to take care of this person anymore. We think you'd be better off somewhere else. But we have 4 of those individuals that we've done 30-day notices for. All 4 of them are still with us because nobody else will take them. So a lot of times when we do our notice, It's not to get rid of the person. It's to say, can you please back off us? Let us run our program, and we'll take care of your person. We just can't take care of you.
Come on. I like that. I like that.
As you can see, we turn these notices in. Nobody's taking your family member. So we're the only one that wants them. We're the only one that's willing to try to keep them safe. We're the only one that's willing to try to make their lives better. So let us do what we do, because you won't take them home.
Let us be the one to love them.
Right. Let us do what God has called us to do, the way that we need to do it. And if we need to make small changes, we can make those small changes. But you can't come into this program that's been helped, designed by God, and say, I need this and I want this for my person. If you want that, then you need to take your person home.
Yeah.
Because this is our program, and this is what we believe is best for that individual.
I love it. Here's the last question. And this is, I guess, one of the doozies. We talked about how, you got to have the right people around you. But as the business owner, the successful entrepreneur, the husband, father, now, there's a younger you. If you could go back and tell them there are certain things you need to be selective in. There's some things you need to take, some things you don't need to take, some folk you need to listen to, some folk you don't need to listen to. What would be something you would tell for you that we might be able to reach out to some of these young brothers now and give them a word of encouragement? All of us are different. We understand that. But maybe something that resonated with the old you that you learn now, that you like, man, I could have avoided this headache 100 times over if I just had somebody to tell me this.
Right. That, one of the fruits of the Spirit is meekness.
Mm-hmm.
And, my life verse is Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ. But when you're doing those things and people see you and they don't see God, they see arrogance and they see pride. So you want to make sure that no matter what you're doing, that you're giving all glory and honor to God for His grace and His mercy. Because if people see you and they don't see the God in you, then it's going to cause you a lot more headache than you need. When we started the business, people knew me in this business, and they knew that I knew what I was doing, but they saw an arrogant person versus seeing a person that knew that they were able to accomplish all things because I knew God,
Mm-hmm.
that I knew I heard Him,
Mm-hmm.
I knew that I listened, but it didn't look that way.
Mm.
It looked as if this is a loud person to say anything, a person that will call you out before he gets a full understanding of what's going on.
Yeah.
So when I say I've learned meekness, I've learned that there's a place, there's a time to correct, there's a place, there's a time to praise, there's a place and a time to do nothing, allow God to do what He needs to do. And when I learned that, I think my life began to change. I think that's what I would teach the younger me is to talk less, listen more, and really don't give people advice unless they ask you for your opinion.
Come on.
So when they ask, then you sure you want this?
You sure you want this?
You sure you want to know how that dress look on you? Okay, so I think that's the thing. And then just the love. I mean, you wanna make sure that you're meek, and you want to make sure that people see the love of God in you. And I think that's what this world's missing now is those two things. I think that's why we're a lot of people in that funeral home and a lot of people in that jail is because they're not being meek and they're not extending the love of God where they have the opportunity to do that.
That is so good. One of the things that I want to first thank you for taking the time out just to be with us. We know you have a schedule. We know y'all can probably hear some folk in the background because we're right here in the office. I am grateful for these brothers such as you coming, giving us just a little bit of a glimpse into your life. Because one of the sad are the narrative of who Black men are in general are being told by people that usually don't look like us. And sadly, even if they look like us, they are coming from a skewed view as well. And to have someone who, like you said, I'm one of the testimonies. I was not supposed to be here. And for God to have opened the doors for me in the ways, one people to have the possibility of being privy to some of the conversations that I have with you when I'm cutting your hair and you're helping me look at my business different, stepping out on faith in different ways because you've already went down that road in stepping out in faith and seeing the fruit of the labor from God. And sadly, we're in a culture that people are so prideful that they don't want to allow their vulnerability to be seen and to act as if they don't know it all.
Right.
I was reading something today, and the guy said, usually people that are very well versed in something, they talk as if they're not, and those that are very immature in something talk as if they're well versed. And I thought about that, and I thought about all the brothers that I know that are successful, have made it in society success. And they're like, man, I'm just trying to make it, do it another day. And it's just a privilege to have you on here today. Thank you for that. And thank you for sharing with us, not only your time, your talent, but also your mind today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for the opportunity to share our story.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Listen, this is Pulpit View. We're grateful that you were able to share with us today. We'd ask that you would subscribe, like this video, leave us a comment. We're always growing. That is the key. We want to make sure that we reach out in a way that we are able to sow back into all of you. So if there's information that you would desire, things that you want to know deeper, subjects on, what we're asking is that you leave us a comment. We'll do our very best to grow with you as you grow with us. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Be blessed.
Good.